Hello, I'm the Universal Critic. I talk about whatever I want, whenever I want, and just this past Saturday, I saw Titanic in IMAX 3D. Before I talk about well, let me start by saying I've seen this movie before this. I've seen this movie a billion times before, and I was still willing to pay $14 a person to see it in IMAX. And that brings me to another really hilarious story. It seems everyone has a story about their first encounter with this movie. Like my parents, for instance. My parents said they waited until it came out again because they didn't see it the first time it was in theaters because it was just so darn long. And it was like as you all know, it's like 3 hours long. And another lady I met said when she first saw the movie, she was still smoking, and of course you can't smoke in a movie theater. So as the movie was progressing, she kept saying, like, if you don't hurry up and die, I'm gonna go ballistic. I want to flipping smoke. Yeah, it seems everyone has a crazy story about this movie. And that brings me to the story about the person I saw with, a friend of mine named Valerie. Yeah, if you can believe it or not, before this, she had never seen this movie before. I was just as surprised as you are. And so was everyone in the movie theater because I told them all. And of course, everyone gave her the look, was like, what's wrong with you, woman? And apparently she told me something about, like, being too young to see it, or, like, she heard it was a little overrated, even though she never saw it. But, yeah, then she saw it with me, and she loved it. Afterwards, she thanked me immeasurably and said it was one of the best movies she had ever seen, and she even went far enough to say it blew Avatar out of the water. Yeah, well, I'm not going to get into that, because I'm not reviewing Avatar, I'm reviewing Titanic. And enough about my little story, and, I almost forgot, we saw it on April 14th, 2012. Yeah, all you history buffs, for all you non-history buffs out there, that means we saw it on the 100th anniversary of the sinking. And I didn't tell Val that until after the movie was over. Way to drop a bombshell on someone, huh? But anyway, let's get to the movie itself. Well, trying to think of what things I can say that hasn't already been said, because, well, almost everyone in the world seems to love this movie, and, well, yeah, I can see why. It's a wonderful movie. It's almost flawless. Let's talk about the actors. Leo DiCaprio, yeah, he was still riding on the whole Leo mania thing at the time this movie came out, but he's still a pretty solid actor. Kate Winslet, she does well as the female lead. She's a very talented actress. I like her. I'm not gonna lie, Billy Zane as the villain is a little over the top. He's just sort of like the guy's like, oh dear, what's this wretched poor man doing here? And yeah, all the good stuff. But yeah, he's still a good character. He's still a good actor, and he does have a bit of a motivation. Him just being, a spoiled little brat who's used to having everyone around him follow his orders, and then Rose comes along and doesn't take any shit from him, and that's just not good for him. But yeah, I praise the main actors, and there are a few of the supporting actors. The guy who played the captain, I forget his name, he does fantastic. And then you got one of my favorite actresses, Kathy Bates, playing Molly Brown. She's wonderful. She's always enjoyable. It's Kathy Bates. What else do I have to say? Now let's see. Well, let's talk about what everyone is talking about right now about this movie, the 3D. I'm just going to come around and say the 3D was nothing special. I guess there were a few shots of the ship where, like, there was a few shots of the ship where it was okay, like when the ship is sticking up in the air, like when you first see or like a few of the underwater shots, those were kind of cool, but for the most part, the 3D was just nothing special. It's still worth seeing, though the movie is still seeing worth theaters, as you can clearly tell, because it made like $200 million already, in addition to the $1.9 billion it already made. Now let's talk about let's talk about some of the bad things about the movie. No, wait, let me rephrase that. Not the bad things about the movie, but like the issues people seem to have with this movie. Let's see, the history aspect of the movie, like that it's not historically accurate, or that's so, well, yeah, it's a Hollywood movie. It's not a flippin' documentary. Stop. Besides, this is historical fiction, not a frickin' History Channel documentary. Stop taking it so seriously. And it's not like it's insulting to the people who died. It still portrays it as this great tragedy. It doesn't blame it on anyone. It doesn't vilify any historical characters. It vilifies a villain, but he's a fictional villain. He's not a real person. And it still portrays this as this great tragedy that was a product of several circumstances that was beyond anyone's control, and that's what a tragedy is. Yeah, so history argument, done and done. Yeah. Another complaint, the standard story, you know, the whole star-crossed lover thing. Well, I'm just gonna probably say there's only like 5 original stories that we're doing variations on, and like 10 original characters that we're only doing variations on. So get used to it. You're not exactly gonna see a breaking original story anytime soon. Yeah. Who cares if it's a standard story? It's still done very well. The acting is great, the visuals are great, and the story, even though it is a little cliche, is still great. It's still very entertaining. You care about the characters. You care about what's happening to them. So, yeah, shut up about that. Jeez. Hey. Well, let's see. Another complaint people have with this movie is that the excessive budget and its excessive success. It's true, when this movie first came out, it was the most expensive film ever made. And that brings me to another note. From just a little public service announcement to all you who want to get involved in film. Well, with the exception of a few circumstances, don't ever be involved with the most expensive film ever made at that time, because it will most certainly bomb. Just look at Cleopatra or Waterworld. Unless you're James Cameron, unless you're working on a James Cameron movie, then it's okay. But other than that, don't get involved with a super expensive movie. But like I said, except for a James Cameron movie like Titanic or Avatar, then they'll do wonderfully. But yeah, so the excessive budget, yeah, it's not like, yeah, the excessive budget, it works to its advantage here. They had to build the entire freaking ship from the ground up again. Yeah, they needed a lot of money to get this done. You'd rather they just do it all CGI, all that. What, you would rather they do it all CGI with all that bitching, all the bitching people have about how cheap CGI looks? Yeah, shut up about that. And the success, well, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. We should be happy it was the highest grossing film ever for like 12 years before Cameron topped himself again. Let's see, another complaint people have is James Cameron. Yes, I know James Cameron is a bit of an asshole, but does that make the movie itself any less good? No, it doesn't. So shut up about that. And now let's get to what seems to be the biggest complaint people have with this movie, that being Celine Dion. Personally, I like Celine Dion, and I think the song she does for this movie is very good, but yeah, I don't quite understand why people hate her. Is it her accent? Is it the fact that she's Canadian? Why not? They're easy targets. Is it that her head's a little off big? Well, I guess that big head thing doesn't make sense because, well, you don't actually see her in the movie. Yeah. So, yeah, the complaints people have about this movie are just, well, minor bitching about minor details. That's all those little hateful comments are. So yeah, Titanic 3D. If you haven't seen it, because apparently there is a very small minority of people who have not, see it. If you have already seen it a million times, like I have, see it because it's still worth your money. What can I say? It's Titanic. There's not much else to say really. I'm the Universal Critic. I'm the Universal Critic, and I'm the king of the world! Woo!